All right, everybody. Once again, you're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. And again, this week we're doing things a little differently, roundtable style, 4 different guests, 15 minutes each. We started in Alberta, Canada. Then we quickly zoomed to San Diego, California, and right back to the LGA LaGuardia with my guest, Jonaed Iqbal. Jonaed, you here?
I'm here. You can hear me?
I can. Did I say your name right?
Jonaed. Close.
Jonaed. Damn, it was close. It's better than what I would have said the first time, though.
No, it's all right. It happens. It happens. What's up?
How you doing, brother? Everything good?
I'm doing well. Doing as well as a person can inside NYC.
Yes, right. Well, you know, it's interesting what's happened here because, first of all, we're not immune to, or you know, we're used to adversity. We're not impervious to these kind of situations. And I think if there's any town in the planet who would just like take it and be like, okay, cool, let's keep going, NYC is one of them. Would you agree?
I agree. NYC is pretty resilient. I mean, we fight each other once in a while, but
yeah. Well, we practice. We're like the Lion Cubs, just constantly like.
But we're good.
Nice. So we connected through LinkedIn, where you have a LinkedIn Live series, which is somewhat coveted. What is it? It's LinkedIn Insomnia, something like that.
That's what it's called.
Such a great name. I love it. I saw it the other night.
I didn't come up with the name. Actually, when I started the show, I did it late night and I'd go to like 2-3 a.m. and I'd go like 3-4 hours and it just came and it stuck and it worked for me. I'm not a morning person. If it wasn't for the show, I'd probably be waking up at like 2 p.m. But it is
taking a nap.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap after this show.
Me too. Shoot. Yeah, I don't stay up that late, but I just work a lot. So I have to, every now and then I got to just like go hide in the corner. Growing up in the restaurant industry, I was notorious for finding a dark little corner, and I would just take the bag that was full of the linens and like the chef coats and stuff and throw it in the corner and make a little cot. 15 minutes, then make a coffee, and I'm right. I was good for like another 8 hours, which was typically the case. It was like I still had an 8-hour shift left in me after being at work already. So
those naps are powerful.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about what you do. You've got something else called nodegree.com. Give us give us the backstory.
So simple terms, I help people without college degrees find meaningful jobs that pay well. I'm also the host of the No Degree podcast, where I interview people without college degrees and have them share their stories. And my real motivation was starting it was because a lot of people without college degrees, a high school kid tells someone, hey, I'm not going to college. You get to, what, are you going to flip burgers? Are you going to have a hard life there? And the fact is that it's not going to be easy, but there are many ways that you can go where you can make it a very good living and you can do well for yourself. But you have to be targeted and you have to know what you're doing. So you have to start early. That if you start at 18 and you're very smart about what you do, you can make very good money, by the time you're 25. It's just about being targeted. And a lot of the ways they're so much cheaper, or you're not getting into any debt.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent a lot of time in the hospitality industry. I own a restaurant and a couple other food related businesses, and people for 15 years now, people have said, my little Billy wants to cook. Should he go to culinary school? And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, why would you pay? Which it's like,
it's a
now
lot.
It's like 70. Then it was like 75 grand. Now it's probably like over 100. To go to a school to learn how to do something that's not going to show up. It's not going to be representative of what happens in a kitchen. I worked in this one kitchen. The chef was a Culinary Institute grad just upstate, and they would send him in the summer all these little interns, that had just finished a 2-year degree at a prestigious school. They knew how to like make a fine dish. I'm sure they could make you like one good dish. They had no idea how to operate in a restaurant. And I'm like, if Billy wants to cook and make money cooking, Billy needs to go get a job in a restaurant and hustle his ass off and make that money and learn at the same time. So I've always been a big fan of that. I have a master's degree in something I don't use at all.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a master's degree from Columbia, and like it's all for my parents, right? They're like happy, and then once in a while it helps people think I'm not a complete idiot. But it's just like it's not like when I went there I got smarter. While I did learn, it was just too expensive. It's just And when I actually worked, I used to work at a Barnes and Noble's, like the Starbucks right inside it. And I knew someone, they went to culinary school and they were in debt, and it really held them back. And it just sucks, right?
And you can't open your own restaurant with that kind of debt hanging over your head.
because you need to, the restaurant industry is tough. It's like, swings up and down. So that's why I started it. It's just it just started as a domain and it grew from there. It started in 2014. I bought the domain, and first few years, a couple of guys in a basement, and then I did research over the years. And then 2018, I cashed out my retirement. I would have actually done it full time earlier had I not had my debt from Colombia.
Right.
And yeah, so that was my real thing. And a lot of people say, hey, you have a master's degree, how can you have a website? Because like I went through the system, right? I was always a good student. I went to Bronx Science, a specialized school up in the Bronx.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know who like school benefits and who it leaves behind. And there are so many people who get left behind because they're not good at school. Like I see a lot of people, if they're dyslexic, right, they're judged because, hey, to them things take more time. But it's like, don't judge people just based on how well they do on their math test. Or you don't judge your car mechanic by his ability to take a math test, just like you wouldn't judge your doctor by their ability to change a tire.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting, a couple of things you said, like I think are really going to get the opportunity to shine right now. First of all, school, I mean, one of the reasons, like I've got 3 kids, and one of the reasons I was adamant about staying in New York and raising them here is because of all the alternative approaches to education. My wife is in education. She's a high school math director, and her school breaks all the rules, and they just don't give a shit, And it's funny because they're under the microscope constantly by the DOE. Yeah. But they come in and they do their whole audit, and they're like, you're doing amazing things. Carry on. And it's just like the cycle, they keep coming in. So there's these opportunities here, and those are only going to grow as they kind of tweak the education system right now. Like now, all those kids that struggle in the format that we had even just 3 months ago, and I could totally relate. Like I was a totally good student. I was smart. I understood everything. I tested well. I could not stand sitting, and we were talking about this the other day, like sitting at a computer or sitting at a desk for all those hours. I'm a doer. I'm a builder. I go out and do things. So I dropped out of 2 different high schools. I dropped out of one. Next year I went back and went to another one. I was like, maybe it was a school, maybe it was the people. Dropped out of that. I was like, no, it was me. But somehow I ended up with a master's degree, which proves that, you can meander, you can do.
Yeah. And life is typically not a straight road, right? It's a curvy road for everyone. Yeah. And to tell everyone that they need to go to college at 18-year-old is preposterous. There's some people, they just need to go back when they're older, when they have more direction, because the best students are those people who go back when they're above 25, because they're in there for a certain reason and they don't have time to mess around. It's like
not wasting any time.
At 18 to 22, you get these people on their iPads, and it's like, and all of a sudden they're more qualified than someone who's been working 4 years.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
So the other way you just pointed out as well, like there's going to be potentially some big opportunity for what you're doing, because schools, a lot of colleges are not going to go back in session in September. A lot of people are going to start to rethink. A lot of people are going to feel the economic crunch and be like, sorry, Billy, I can't foot your culinary degree right now. You're going to have to go get a job. And, the interesting thing about schools like the Culinary Institute, I worked for a number of guys in the 90s that had gone there. And at that time, you had to have worked for 2 years in the industry. And it didn't matter. You could have been, scooping Italian ice on the Jersey Shore in the summers, but you had to have 2 years experience and know what that pressure feels like. Like you're going to be in dirty situations. This is not glamorous. We're not all going to be Bobby Flay. They really made them go through that, and it weeded out a lot of the bullshit people, a lot of the people that weren't going to make it anyways. But they got rid of that, and I think that would be a useful reintroduction to a lot of, maybe not like the medical industry. You don't want to tell the guy, go pretend to be a doctor for a couple of years, go try it out, and then we'll teach you. No, that's not what we're saying. But you may have an opportunity here with what you're doing in that kind of counsel, because the whole system just got.
Look, I've had opportunities since they started charging enormous amounts for people. Because I asked people who go to college, they're like, yeah, it was too expensive. And you hear this common thing where it's like, it was just way too much. It was just way too expensive. I learned everything in person. And then, you get a lot of people with MBAs, right? And the common thing with an MBA is the MBA is the best marketed degree.
Yeah.
Right. And you hear people say like, oh, it's not the education, it's the network. So you're telling me you're paying whatever, 50, 100K plus for a network. Just go buy dinner for 2 people every week for a whole year. You'll build your own network and you'll
It'll be
save a lot of
less than-
money.
Yeah,
A lot less
exactly.
expensive. So then you even see that even these schools kind of portray that it's not the education. So then what are you paying
Yeah,
for?
right.
Go pretend to be a student and go hang out in the halls. Go, I don't know, go pay
Exactly.
for like an ID or something from a student, you know,
Right.
and
No.
just be creative. It's about being creative, that you can't, if you don't, school just sort of spoon feeds things to you. But if you're creative, if you're a hustler, there's so many ways to sort of replicate it.
Yeah. Any last bits of advice before we move on to the next segment for people, and also tell people where they can find you at?
I think just be creative and do research. I think that's what a lot of people don't do. That regardless of what you do, I'm not anti-college. I just think that regardless of what you do, please do your research. Please make sure that it's the right decision for you. Don't listen to people who haven't done their research, because so many people, they just listen and they get into a situation and they realize that it's not for them. So please do research, ask a lot of people, talk, make an educated judgment before whether you're going to school or not going to school, because that's
Right.
what a lot of people don't do, and that's what causes them trouble. And if you want to find me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is spelled Jonaed. I'm the only one with that name. And feel free to check out my podcast, the No Degree Podcast, on nodegree.fm, and that'll link you to all the places that it's aired on.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Definitely, once things settle down, we're gonna get together.
Yeah, definitely.
Grab a coffee at like 8 p.m. because we both gonna be up late.
Look, I'll wake up early for you, so it's all right. I'll wake up early for you.
I appreciate it, man, so much. I really do. Will you take care? I look forward to seeing you on the flip side. All right,
Gotcha.
everybody.
Gotcha,
we'll be. You got it. We'll be back in a few with the last guest. We're gonna shoot to Cleveland, Ohio. We'll be back in just a few. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.